there was that strike today of climate change, there was in Sydney, in Australia, a big poster that I saw in the photos. I was hoping for a cooler death. I don't know if you saw that one. So I took that phrase and I've changed it completely. So when I say I was hoping for a cooler death, you know that's the end of the story. The story is called The Queen of Cool. When you looked at her parents, it was not surprising how Judith had turned out. Her dad was a notable astrophysicist. Obviously, he was a genius with several groundbreaking publications to his name. But he could also have written the Nerd's Handbook. Judith had never seen him without a strip of Band-Aid on the frame of his glasses, holding them together. He thought nothing of starting a sentence at the dinner table with the phrase, "on an evidential basis." Her mum was almost the opposite of her dad. What had brought them together, and more to the point, kept them together, was anyone's guess. Where her dad was clever, her mum was, to put it politely, slow on the uptake. And without ever seeming to realise it, she was always exactly 10 years behind the current fashion. In 2015, she wore a western shirt with pearl snap fastenings and Ugg boots. She also had no perceptible filters. Whatever passing thought arrived in her mind was automatically broadcast to whoever happened to be in the room at the time. The one thing that united her mum and her dad was their utter lack of cool. That was therefore the one thing Judith most ardently aspired to be cool. However, she had to contend with both an irritatingly high IQ, inherited from her father, and a physical and verbal awkwardness, courtesy of her mother, that stymied her every attempt. Aged 23, at a cool nightclub, she was doing well for once. She'd avoided embarrassing herself on the dance floor by placing a strict self-imposed ban on dancing. She had attracted a cool-looking guy who'd bought her a drink. "Nice style," he observed, referring to her outfit. She got her best friend to choose it for her. "Thanks. Just don't say anything unnecessary," she coached herself. "That way, there's less chance of embarrassing yourself." "I love hot, hot heat," the cool one says. His hair looks magically both as if he spent no time styling it, and also as if it belonged to the coolest guy in a boy band. "Oh yes," Judith said without thinking, "but the seasons change so quickly it'll be winter before we know it." Yeah, I meant the band, this song, Bandages." She looked blank. "From Canada?" "Oh, yeah, I knew that." This was going the way of every other moment in her life in which she'd initially believed she'd found sophistication and a sense of poise. Time to cut her losses. "Look, I'm really tired. I'm just going to pay for my drink and head off," she said. She opened her purse and, like a slow-motion shot in a cliched insurance ad, the packet of strawberry-flavoured condoms she'd hopefully bought and optimistically stowed in her purse was catapulted up into the air, hovered a second, before diving down into the cool one's glass of craft beer. That was then. 15 years have passed. Judith is 38. Successful, professionally, but far from happy. "I see death," the psychic admits, sadly. "But not soon, right?" asked Judith. Madame Gabrielle, who also promises chakra cleansing, makes an ambiguous waggling movement with her head. It might signify agreement. "This is interesting," she says, caressing the crystal ball. In her head, Judith can hear her father's disapproving voice, questioning the evidential basis for a spherical glass object providing reliable information about future events. "What do you see?" asked Judith. I see you. You look fantastic, super confident, she says, glancing quickly at Judith, as if for confirmation. Looking down at her shirt, Judith realizes she's buttoned it up askew. What you want more than anything in this world is to be confident and assured. In a word, cool, says Gabrielle. The word sounds strange coming from her. Judith cannot deny it. Yes, she is a successful biochemical engineer. Yes, she owns a car and an apartment. Yes, she has a pension that is on track to provide for her old age, if she ever gets that far. But the apartment is unaccountably in the most untrendy part of the city. The car is reliable, but the polar opposite of the image she wants to project. She is still not cool. What you've got on here in the crystal ball, they're beautiful vintage clothes, mismatched in just the right way. You're wearing black stilettos, you look like $1 million, and you're on your way to an awards ceremony, purrs Madame Gabrielle. This sounds amazing, but nothing like Judith. And this is going to be me just before my death, asked Judith. The crystal ball never lies, the psychic assures her. Judith has all but forgotten the session with Madame Gabrielle when, 15 years later, at the age of 53, she is rushing to the Biochemical Engineer of the Year award ceremony. Dressed in the cunningly mismatched vintage outfit her younger colleague advised her on, with killer stiletto heels, she's late. She's running across the road towards a taxi when both her heels get caught in the storm drain cover. She twists and wriggles, but they just wedge themselves more tightly. Worse, she was so worried about the prospect of slipping out of her shoes and having a mishap on the way to the podium to accept her award that she has gone to the lengths of supergluing the soles of her feet into her shoes. There is just no way they will come out. She gets her phone out to text her friend to come with superglue solvent, and as she does so, sees a car out of control careering towards her. The driver is wrestling helplessly with the steering wheel. A crowd has gathered around her now. They're shouting, tugging uselessly at her shoes to dislodge them, and at her feet, which are inexplicably rooted to her shoes. As the car gets closer, and it becomes clear there's nothing to be done, they run to save themselves. The last to leave, a frumpy woman whose looks remind her of her mother, speaks breathlessly to her. "Any last words I can pass on to your family, my dear?" Judith nods. She has remembered that this was all foretold, but it has not panned out the way she imagined. I was hoping for a cooler death.